I mean, business is feeling empowered. You know, I think the prior presidents didn't have a lot of business experience. Neither Obama nor Joe Biden had really been in the business community. So the business community is excited and nervous too. I mean, we're excited about the deregulation. And for me personally, cutting government waste, and the first candidate who actually has talked about being more efficient. Like, I'll pay higher taxes. I don't need lower taxes, but I want the government to use my money wisely. I don't want to throw it away on programs that don't make any sense. So I think a business approach to the federal government spending, which is gargantuan, is really great for the country. And I hope this team, you have one of the smartest people in the world leading the efforts, it just needs to be careful. I think, this isn't a company. This is the country, and there are other countries involved. And you got to be careful how you cut. I don't think I'd do it quite boom. I think I'd look at each program one by one and say, this makes no sense, but this one makes sense. I don't think they all don't make sense. I think, as Jamie Dimon said last week at a conference, we should America first, but not America alone. And I think you have to be careful of that.
Scott Bessent was with Bloomberg Television this morning. He talked again about the ambitions on deregulation in your world of the hotel world, of the
real estate world.
Real estate world, yes, the broad church. What is the most profound deregulation that could help your business?
The speed to get a permit to build a building, and we're in the data center business, one of the largest players in the country, and it's really hard. But the federal government can only do so much. There's going to be pushback from the local communities, from the states and municipalities that today govern a lot of the zoning, and the states really require. I was talking to our team earlier today, and it'll be a year before we can get a permit on a deal. Well, we would all like to see these. It's in the public's best interest. Even if you want to build a housing project, it takes forever. So, to shorten that and make government, not just the federal government, but local municipalities and state governments more accountable to having a goal, having an effort, we want to approve 200,000 housing units this year, and we're going to get it done. Just move faster, because the capital is ready to go, but sometimes the bureaucracy keeps us from going. So that stuff is good and good for the economy, and that will help the economy grow.
Barry, this is Romaine in New York. I am curious about the tariff picture, and I know it's going to take a few more months before we actually learn if Trump goes through with some of these tariffs. But what would the net effect be on real estate development, given the sourcing of a lot of the materials that go into building?
Look, the promotion of American manufacturing is a great idea, but we are not a manufacturing nation. We only have 13 million jobs of 160 million in manufacturing, and we're running a 4% unemployment rate. So I'm not sure who's going to work in all these factories. We're going to need some really quick efforts from Musk and Zuckerberg in robotics to actually have people work in these factories. Americans don't want to do that. That's not the jobs that they're interested in taking today. So I think the tariffs are super complicated, and you don't know what's negotiation and what the end result is. I do think the focus should be on China. We run a $250 billion trade deficit with China. It's not Canada, for sure. And I think we have to be careful where we pick our fights. But China is really the country that runs the second largest economy in the world with a fixed currency. And that alone is not right? That currency should go up and down and with trade flows like every other major currency. So you start there. And I don't think the tariffs, they're tactical. If you put them in place, as he just did the steel tariffs, I think they're going into place, American companies will raise prices. So it is very inflationary. And for real estate, it's really bad. Because for Canada, lumber, we need the lumber, or we can chop down our own trees, I suppose. But it's not a bad thing. We run an equal trade deficit with Canada other than oil. And we use their oil, and if we don't buy it, they're going to ship it to Asia. So I think it has to be, look, he's got there's a lot of cobwebs to get through, and I think he's sort of slashing at them. And I think they'll work it out. I'm optimistic. He's going to be our president, and I want him to win. So I would hope that it's very inflationary, though. And look, for existing owners, it's good, because to build a new building would be more expensive. So the existing office stock, the existing apartment stock is going to be worth more, but it's bad because the numbers won't work to create you won't be able to build anything. We already have a 4 to 5 million unit housing shortage. So he's going to create I mean, you're seeing it in the sentiment of the builders, that they're nervous. Everyone's a little nervous. We're optimistic, but we're a little nervous.
Right.
Wonder how many eggs are going to get broken before the house gets built, right?
So. Oh, don't break any eggs, Barry. Those cost even more than lumber.
So the inflationary effects of tariffs is definitely something that people are worried about, and you see that in the markets as well. What is the single biggest risk, Barry, with the move fast and break things approach that Doge and you could even argue President Trump is using to, fulfill his priorities, that fulfill his agenda?
I merged 3 hotel companies together, and I put a net overall spending so I could check what was going out. And I think that's sort of the approach they used. But people's lives are at risk in this situation. It's not a company, it's the world. So I think and it's countries and programs in countries that are probably important to us. Some of it is actually weapons. It's good to have friends around the world. And the S&P 500, at last I checked, I think 60% of the revenues are international. So we do not want to piss off the entire globe. And in this regard, Russia is irrelevant. They're not a major trading partner at all for us. But we are major trading partners with Europe and with Canada and Mexico. We exported labor, and we wanted manufacturing in Mexico because China was too unreliable, and of course we experienced the difficulties of the supply chain, which actually really caused inflation during COVID. So manufacturers, including the Chinese, moved manufacturing to Mexico, where they have cheap labor, and consumers in the United States benefited from that. So we're going to see how this works out. It's fascinating. It's scary. You kind of want to be in the bleachers as opposed to on the field, watching it. But it creates opportunities for investors, and I think. It's you wake up every morning and it's back to having to watch what happened last night. So it's rapid.
Does that hold you back from wanting to do deals? Are you a bit more restrained? Everybody comes on the show and they say double down on U.S. exceptionalism. Are you a bit more restrained?
Yes, it's adding more risk factors. I mean, for real estate, we want to know if interest rates are going up or down. And last night Trump said inflation's going down, and interest rates are going down, and the deficit's going down. And yet the more tax cuts are at least projected to increase the deficit. And the theory is we'll grow faster and the deficit will go down. That's a nirvana situation. Will that happen? We're all watching. But when I'm looking at a deal, an investment, I'm now just buying an industrial portfolio. I'm curious, what happens if we're storing things in buildings that the tenant may go bust because of the tariffs coming in on that tenant. Those products will be too expensive and they won't sell. So we have a whole new set of risks, and it will create opportunities. Data centers are, the president's behind them, the nation was behind them, and the Mag 7 were behind them before, President Trump showed up. But now he's trying to get the power, which is the issue, to the data centers faster, and that's good.